Thank you very much for being here. It makes me actually very happy that so many people in this community are interested about accessibility, together with the talk Diana Lee gave yesterday. This is a nice show up. So, I'm going to be talking a bit about my experience about working on accessibility in these two projects, LITE and Colibri. I'm going to skip the 2 cents about me, since Mike already presented me. I'm far from being an expert, but that goes to my, plays in my favor today, because what I want to show you is that you don't need to be an expert to implement the basic universal design, because all you need is to care for your users. So, we are working, LITE is technically Khan Academy LITE. It's an offline server solution for distributing video content, educational video content in places in the world where internet is not available. So what we have is the server which would distribute videos in schools, orphanages, refugee camps, prisons where there is not active, there is not sufficient video or internet connection to be able to deliver successfully video content. That's not the only type of users we get. A couple of weeks ago, we had a guy contacting us because he was going on a private cruise and he wanted his kids, who will be on a yacht, to be able to watch Khan Academy videos. So, not particularly the type of user we had in mind when we started. We are trying to bridge this digital divide. And just one moment is that how did we meet, me and Learning Equality? Last year, Learning Equality was chosen to participate in Google Summer of Code project, was one of the organizations. And I was lucky enough that one of their core values was universal design, and that they liked my proposal. I presented because accessibility was one of the things I was trying to getting passionate about and trying to work more, and I was lucky enough that they liked my proposal. I was 44 at the time, which goes to say that you can never be old enough or bold enough to get passionate about new things and try new things. So why do we care? I mean, I'm conscious that I'm lucky enough to work for a nonprofit where universal design is a core value. But I'm also aware that a lot of you work for digital agencies, organizations where various stakeholders you have to deal with do not share the same stance. So I'm going to start this presentation just running through a couple of things that you might use as, even though I'm convinced that I don't have to convince anybody here about why accessibility is important, I know that you might have to deal with some questions about why investing time and effort into implementing universal design. So let's go and see a couple of arguments that might help you with some of those unconvinced stakeholders. So who benefits if we implement universal design, if we work on accessibility? Just the disabled people? According to World Health Organization, there is 1 billion people in the world with some form of disability. That's 15%. In raw numbers, that's more than all population of Europe, for example. Some European stats show that 1 in 4 have some form of disability, both moderate to severe. That's like more than the whole population of Germany. So it's not an edge case anymore. Another argument might be, do only people with disabilities benefit when we implement universal design accessibility? This is the sketch from Graham's Bell first prototype for a telephone, because even though his relationship with the deaf community was somewhat tortuous, his interest in working with deaf people, because his wife and his mother were deaf, eventually led to his research into devices, hearing devices, that eventually led to him patenting the telephone. And that, with other research done at Bell Labs, connected to transistor and transistor radio, to what we today have as this thing that we cannot live without, mobile phone. Anybody here without a mobile phone? Wow, one person, okay. So, we started with trying to help somebody with disability and ended up with the project that benefited everybody. That's not the only case. Like a month ago, I gave a similar talk to a group of undergrads, so I didn't get to use this line, but here I can. How many here are parents? Okay, so I guess you're thankful for all those curb cuts you encounter when you have to push prams. Those curb cuts are there because they were necessary for people with wheelchairs. Or you don't have to be a parent. Anytime you have to have a trolley with you because you're traveling, you're also making use of those curb cuts. So designing for those extreme cases eventually leads to better design for everybody. If you want to take a more social view of this subject, the parental leaves, paid parental leaves that now many women have, eventually ended up to rights of the fathers to claim the same. Maybe not in our country, maybe not right now, but eventually this is going to happen. So designing for extremes benefits everybody. It's also good for business. You have several arguments to present why implementing certain tenets of universal design may be good for business. Good accessibility benefits search engine optimization. Mobile designs are usually have better accessibility. I've heard several times from blind people that they, for example, use directly Facebook or mobile versions instead of a desktop version because it's more accessible. So these two things are connected. You have increased market share because you now have included all this a group of people that was excluded eventually. So you don't have to put up fires. You try to think about accessibility from the beginning. Oops, sorry. One before. And don't wait for a QA phase of your project to think about accessibility. If you try to build in accessibility from the beginning, it may increase your budget for a couple of percent, 1 to 3 I've heard. But if you try to retrofit a product that was designed without thinking about accessibility, it goes 10% to up. So if all these carrots that are presented, like sheer numbers, benefits for all, benefits for business, were not enough, let's use a stick. We have, standards and laws. In many countries, especially if you work in public sector, accessibility is built into law. So it must be observed. Or you have legal risks. Here in US, you have Section 508 and American Disabilities Act, and in Europe, right now, a couple of months ago, there has been a really important decision by the European Union about implementing web accessibility on the whole European Union level. And of course, the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines were established as an ISO standard. There's one thing that I want to mention, just accessibility in all the recent legislation is starting to be considered not as a property of the person, okay, not as something is missing in a person, but like what happens where the person interacts with a certain environment which makes it inaccessible for them at that point. So it doesn't mean that it has to be something permanent. You can be disabled because for a while, temporarily, you broke your arm, a leg, you have an eye patch. You are temporarily disabled. You can be situationally disabled. For example, me in a sunlight, I'm useless. Okay? I don't have official disability, but I cannot do anything in the sunlight without really, really big dark shades. So this vision of accessibility as the confluence between what you are and the situation that you are in is getting into into legislation too. And of course, standards and laws also end up in courtrooms. So you have several really important law cases about accessibility, especially here in the US, a bit more litigious society than Europe, for example. This last list, Carl Groves is one of the accessibility consultants who started this list back in 2011. It hasn't been updated until a couple of months ago. It had maybe 50 in about a year or two. And then recently he updated it. Now this list has more than 250 legal cases won on account of accessibility, breaking accessibility laws and legislations. Okay, so I'm gonna start now about mine, lessons learned from working with accessibility on this particular project, LITE. And I want to share the most important lessons that I learned right away. It's like you have to think about offering alternatives for the content to your users. Let's get on with these low-hanging fruits that we managed to take care of in LITE. Yeah, of course, sorry. One other that I discovered a bit later. This is actually from one really nice video from Dawn Norman. It's discoverability and feedback. Another thing that I would ask to keep in mind all the time when you think about web accessibility specifically. So, first advice. When you think about document and structure, the first most important things that you have to do before even diving into more deeply into content, or HTML or JavaScript or whatever, declare page language. Because otherwise, if you have content in French, but you do not declare attribute language, you will be having your screen reader read that language as it was talking as Del Boy Trotter from Only Fools and Horses. Somebody know that series? It's a British series from maybe 80s. Okay, I'm getting, this is not a good reference for American public. I'm sorry. That's really, really funny. I wish I should have found the Del Boy speaking French. Okay, more things about document structure. Declare title of your page. That's the first thing when the browser loads your web page. The screen reader is going to read the title of the page and the browser, name of the browser you're using. It has to be distinctive from one page to another. You cannot have the same one, otherwise the users are going to be without context. Ideally, the title should be similar or the same as the first heading on your page. This is the homepage of the LITE, okay? And this is one of the first things I actually did during my GSOC internship last year. Prepare those area page landmarks, which can be either semantic HTML5 or aria. Semantic HTML gives you a really great accessibility features for very little development effort. So it's something that you could get into habit of doing correctly from the start. Headings. This may be a bit confusing, but oops, sorry. Okay. The resume, next steps, and explore part of the page where the headings have been chosen because of how they looked, not because of the proper nesting. So this tool is something that I'm going to show you later a bit detailed. One accessibility checker called Totally checks for all nested headings in your page and shows you what you need to correct. Keyboard navigation. Annalie mentioned that yesterday. If you don't like the default one that the browser shows on your project or web, just define your own. But don't put outline 0 because that's like big fail. Just to show you, because we didn't get to see that yesterday, in case you never saw the people who use exclusively keyboard navigation. Man over there has what is called headwand. It is the only way he's able to navigate through a web page, pushing it with the little movement he has available in his neck. There are other devices like sip and puff, which also allow people to navigate by keyboard, or with some more mobility, people can use different types of pointers, like this one. For example, for a video player, we used Video.js in LITE, and it had visible focus already defined in CSS, but it was too slight for me. So I just simply edited the CSS and put a bit more stronger indicator which of the controls in the video player control bar is active at the moment. So when you're keyboard navigating through the controls, you know, you can see exactly where are you at that point in time. And I covered images and this alt attribute yesterday, so I don't want to stay too long. I just want to say, in our project, it wasn't important because it was offline solution. But I cannot stress enough of how important this is for search engine optimization. The benefit you get from correctly describing the images you have in your project. Because for all intents and purposes, Google is blind. It doesn't see the image itself. So if you do not put some textual information about what is in that image, you cannot reap any benefit, neither for search engine, neither for people who use the screen reader. If you don't have to trust me, just Google image alt. You will get more results that talk about how to optimize your search engine than about accessibility. Then think about your content development network can be down, so you can upload images. Oops, links and forms. I'm back. Okay, big fail. I already mentioned that yesterday. Links must be descriptive. Do not put just click more, click for here or here to do whatever. Put the whole description of where that link leads inside the label all the forms. Check when you test, check the form with errors. Are all the fields which are required indicated correctly? Do they have, where does focus return once the form is submitted? Those are all little details, but make a page inaccessible, form page inaccessible for people who cannot see. See tabbing order through various fields makes sense if it's the same that you would expect when you see. Okay, cause and contrast. We also talked about that yesterday. I just wanted to mention two things. The color vision deficiency affects roughly about 10% of the population, and that's mostly men. About 8% men, 2% women, if I recall well. That translates to 100 million users in web. So think about that. This is the tool that I wanted to show you. It's really simple. You can either load it as a bookmarklet and choose it on whatever you're doing at the time, or for example, we had it installed in our project, and it executed only while we have the development version. It's actually made by Khan Academy, so it was like in-house solution. Okay, another thing regarding color contrast, nice example. Anybody from London here? No. Yes? No. Okay, doesn't really matter, because if you look carefully, do you see something specific about the lines and colors of these metro lines, London metro lines?
They're a bit hard to tell apart when you've got a bunch of them running together, like the green and
Okay, but do you see something that green has and yellow doesn't and yellow has?
Visual indicators.
Exactly. Think about this solution. When I showed this with this image to a user experience lead in our team, she said, wow, the whole new world of possibilities. Because what you have is possibility to offer alternatives. Do not use color alone to convey meaning. Combine it with something else. That's exactly what they did here in this map. So that's the takeout, offer alternatives. Here for color and contrast. There are several accessible multimedia players with options. For example, this one, we don't use that one, but it's really good because it has the option for transcript. That means that it loads the subtitles and captions you have and makes it available as a transcript, so you can follow in a block of text instead of a usual position for subtitles. And it's signaling you which phrase is read at the moment. The TED.com website has also the really good example of that. So offering these timed captions and transcripts for your video and audio content does benefit anybody who is auditory challenged, improves comprehension, makes the content searchable, okay, and referenceable for everybody. And it can also help somebody who doesn't want to play video out loud. Okay, it doesn't have headphones at the moment, so you can just shut up the audio and continue to view. Another thing important, please don't autoplay your content. Awful. People who are not challenged or cannot see, I personally hate when it starts playing. I have the Firefox extension which blocks all the videos, flash videos, until I specifically tell them to start playing. So there are ways and ways to let your users how to actually choose whether they want or not to consume some really nice piece of video content that you created, you produced. So that's really big accessibility fail. So don't autoplay, but let it play. So if you have an audio version of your content, either natively or make it available to screen readers, okay? That benefits both blind users and all those who prefer maybe to listen instead of reading, okay? If you are, for example, driving, you would probably prefer to listen to something instead of reading. Another example, what I did last year with LITE. This is, for example, the part of the page where the learner is presented with their progress. So you had one specific type of content, topic, addition, subtraction. There were 2 videos and 2 exercises. The learner did not start video, but they did start both exercises, did not finish it. When they finish it, it starts to be dark green. Another piece of another topic in this lesson. So this is how it looks like for somebody who can see. And when I put this page through the screen reader, this is what it read. Having level 2 clickable link. That's how it reads, because the screen readers always give user the context. So at this moment, I'm reading what is heading in this page, and it's also clickable. And it's heading level 2. It's not H1, it's H2. And it's also clickable because this is a link, apart from being a heading. Then the textual information, what is addition, what is subtraction. Then it read 2. That's this little 2 here. And then it goes down, it says 2, this is 2. And it says 100%, because here you have 100%. So how much is the learner able to understand from that? Same here, heading level 2 clickable link, title of the topic, 10 videos, but your learner does not know that. 40%, is this 40, 60%, is here 60. 3 exercises, but the learner does not know that. 100%, 100%. So diving into this involved using, for the KLITE, we used the Bootstrap. So there was this class, Screenreader-only, SR only. So that effectively takes away from the page whatever you put inside, so the people who see your page, your project, cannot see it, but it's read by the screen reader because it's still in the page, even though it's not visible. So this is kind of job that I had to do. We dive into all these conditions inside handlebar conditions, so that the missing information, which is essential for the context of the learner, is presented. So all these divs and spans are the information which was necessary. So the end result was something like this. So now we have heading level 2 clickable link, didn't touch anything there. It says, in this topic there are 2 videos. That goes even before this icon appears. You haven't started to watch videos. That's because here there is nothing. Okay? There are 2 exercises in this topic. You are still working on all of them because they are light green. Those are the conditions from before. You are still working on, or you are still working on all of them. The same thing for this. 10 videos, you have completed 40%, but you're still working on 60%. There are 3 exercises, still working on all of that. So that's one type of thing that you will have to do. Check the output of the screen reader and then input the missing information some other way. Okay? Anneli mentioned yesterday, screen readers are marvelous pieces of software which existed much before internet, but they have a really steep learning curve. So there is one thing that I mentioned later in resources. There's a small Firefox extension which will give you like the textual output of what screen reader might read. There are other options that I will show you later of what will give you approximate, because even the screen reader read differently. The most used one traditionally, kind of Microsoft Windows of screen readers called JAWS, reads link in a certain way, and NVDA, which is a free version, getting popular every year, link slightly differently, and they're not, there is not standard for that. Okay, so with this, I would like to close a bit the chapter about stuff we did, these low-hanging fruits we used to do accessibility improvements for KLITE. I'm gonna jump to the new product we do. It's called Colibri, the 2nd generation, and it was the ideal solution to start baking in accessibility from the beginning, which is how it's supposed to be done. So let's see what it looks like when you put accessibility from the start. Mike Gifford, is he is not listening to me today. Person who works a lot on accessibility for Drupal. Okay, so he's great accessibility peeps to follow on Twitter. He is quoting somebody else, saying accessibility is a blueberry muffin. You can put berries inside afterwards. So what are we trying to do with Colibri? Collaborate. So when the design team started to work with the early prototypes and putting down the wording and the examples for the usability style guide, the accessibility is taken into account. Start leveraging semantic HTML5 right from the beginning. It's not easy to choose a JavaScript framework or libraries because a lot of them do not have accessible components. Some do, Polymer comes to mind. We end up using Vue.js, have some things can be accessible, other you have to work on them ad hoc. But you consider that whenever you're choosing all the frameworks. And when you start working, when you chose one, then you take into account that you have to keep adding accessibility on your behalf. Okay, so this is one of the first prototype the design team proposed. Real nice, clean, but passed through the checkers. Contrast was not ideal. So basically, iterating accessibility, it's the same as anything else you iterate in your development process. You discuss it with the team, see what's working, what's not working, and you end up with an improved solution. So this is much cleaner, more or less similar to what they had in mind from the beginning, but at least green all over regarding contrast. Then you have to brainstorm about the position of the elements. How do you want to put the navigation? Do they go into header? Do they go into the main piece of content? This is all the stuff that we did with lately. Also, another thing that you keep in mind is sometimes you use CSS to position differently your piece of your project. It can be one way in HTML, but then it turns out another way when you render the page. And then discussion about accessibility properties. This is just, you don't have to read this. Accessibility properties of elements happens the same way it happens for all the other things that your product features. You discuss them. For example, this is one would be try to use UJS. I use this visually hidden class and try to leverage something without working on the component itself. So we have these attributes for the icon. It gave the information. This is a Chromie. You have the content here. What is red? Accessibility properties in Chromie inspect window would give you what will be read by the screener. This is kind of a mouth. Okay. So this was the first idea, but then we ended up correctly computing, adapting the component itself. So this is the content icon component, and we computed the alternative text so it can leverage those two properties automatically. And I just wanted to include this because I was so proud. I was mostly MAA last month or so. So my team worked, I kept an eye on what they were doing. They were doing book bash yesterday. And I was so proud because they reported keyboard navigation doesn't work on audio player, keyboard work doesn't work with video player, tabbing through PDF viewer does not. So I was so proud that the last year or so that we've been working on including accessibility stuck. They are including that into workflow. So I'm just including this slide because I'm proud of my team. How did we do that? For the last 6 or 7 months, we've been practicing something called accessibility pill. I tried last year during my internship to do like a big 1-hour presentation about accessibility for the whole team, and there are also a lot of interns from San Diego, University of California, San Diego, but that kind of did not get the result that I wanted. So they changed the format, and in all hands meeting that we have once a week, I tried to present like the bite-sized information about accessibility that I could fit into 10 minutes. Okay, choose a small topic. It doesn't have to be, this is a collection of slides that I had these last 6 months. We are happy to share if you want. It doesn't have to be a formal slides. Okay, one day we did the demonstration of how to put the alternative text for tweets or for Facebook posts. So our social media people can practice what we preach. And whenever they tweet or put the Facebook post, they do that. Or one day I made them sit around the table, turn around and watch the walls, and another person of the team put up 2 short videos from YouTube, which were actually with audio description. It's the only way the blind people can watch movies, if the movie is audio descripted. So there you have the explanation of the context. So it doesn't have to be a big formal thing, and it doesn't have to be one person. Everybody will tell you that you get best results if you have somebody spearheading accessibility in the team or in the organization. If you don't have that person, it doesn't have to be a burden of one person. You can divide that. Anybody can prepare research in 2 hours and prepare the small bite-sized information about accessibility once a week. If you have a team, then it will take every 2 months to get to the same person again. So that information in accessibility becomes the part of the workflow. Okay, what I created also was a tool repository. We have it in our wiki on a GitHub page. So that's like if they have a question and don't know what to use, there's already a list of tools that can be used. Accessibility is a shared responsibility. So on this webpage, Web Accessibility Initiative, there is a nice table that you can study if you have a more formal and bigger organization, how to separate responsibilities so it doesn't fall on only one person. Especially it should not fall on QA, because if you didn't do it before the QA phase, then you are in trouble. So to sum up, put accessibility in your everyday development team life. I'm happy to share the accessibility pills. I'm happy to share all the links from the tool repository if somebody is interested. Don't rely on automated testing. Try to implement it, of course, but the technical compliance, meaning when the checker says, yes, everything is green, does not mean functional compliance. If in any way possible, involve the users, test with actual users. It's a process. It's not like a project. It's not one phase. It has to be done from the beginning. Rome wasn't built in a day, and there is no such thing as 100% accessible. But you can fail, and then you can fail better. And I here have several slides with resources. I'm not going to dive into it because we are finishing time. I want you to leave like 5 minutes for questions. They're going to be inside the slides for almost everything that we mentioned. There are links with tools and resources. I just wanted to say that with all these resources, it's never been easier. Plethora of resources. So improving accessibility does involve additional effort, the effort of inclusion and thinking about how to present our content to people who may not consume it the same way we do. But that additional layer of effort, to use the quote from one of my favorite sci-fi characters, this cause is just, and it's fair, and it's necessary. So from both human, business, and legal point of view. So please go and make your content as you care for all your users. Thank you. I think we have exactly 4 minutes.
So thank you so much. That was an awesome talk. The question I had was around finding real users. If you don't know people from certain communities, how do you not find them, but how do you find them and ask them to test your product so that you can make sure you hit all your accessibility checklists?
This question comes up every talk. It came yesterday with Annalise talk, and it's not the first time I hear that. There is no simple answer to that, and it differs from country to country, okay? In some countries, you have associations of users, okay, to whom you can eventually reach and treat the possible testers from that community the same way you treat the subjects for your usability testing. The same way you are paying the people to participate in your usability testing, you probably have to do something similar. Of course, since we are talking about the reduced population, it's going to be that much harder to find them and to actually engage them into something, but it is doable. Just, the only thing I can recommend is actually going to, if in your territory, your country, check out the associations and the citizens groups who try to influence the policy in that sense. they will probably have contacts. I'm sorry I don't have a better response to that.
So one other quick question. Could you put up your slide with the resources with the screen readers? I mean, I can get the slides later, but I'd love to see it. You blew past it pretty quick. I just like to figure out how to do the Firefox extension that gives you the ability to see what the screen reader is. Fangs?
Yeah, thanks.
Gotcha. Thank you.
No, because I usually want to make my slides in PDF accessible, and that's a little bit more effort, so that's why my slides are not immediately available after the talk. But they will be. I will share them in Slack, I will share them link on Twitter, on my SlideShare page, so they will be there, just maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow. Because PDF accessibility is also requires a bit more effort.
Thank you.
Okay. Other questions?
Hi, thanks for the great talk. I'm curious about how screen readers deal with some of the dynamic content that I'm going to guess a lot of us are putting together. So dynamic AJAX requests that are, put through a client-side template and then dynamically altering the DOM. Are screen readers able to deal with that at all, or?
I would say that the modern versions, the recent version of screen readers, of course, have that option. But what you have to do in your page, there are several area roles and properties. That's rich, accessible, I'm not even sure how to pronounce that. Anyway, they have properties that you put into the content which is refreshed. So it tells to the user if something changed in the meantime from the first time the page loaded, it will announce that. So you will have grades, you have area polite, which means doesn't interrupt users into anything they're doing, and there's area noun strict or something like that, check the specification, which will announce it immediately. So if something like really big error is happening, you have the option to tell the user, listen, this is changed, you have to, pay attention to this immediately. Of course, use that with with consideration. So yes, there are certain things that you can do to inform the user about dynamic content. Okay, I'm anyway available after the talk. I'm available for the next 2 days, so if anybody wants to chat or about anything else, if you have specific questions, please do come around. Thank you.